able to join us. And so, if you could, or, if you have any questions or anything like that, just let me know. I can, you can type it in the chat box or something like that if you'd like. And it will mainly be Linda Taylor from CASAS here, as well as Patty Long from CASAS, who have been so kind enough as to go over kind of the meat of what was discussed at the National Consortium Certified Trainers meeting at Summer Institute. I know that not everybody could join us, and so we like to hold these webinars so that all of you certified trainers and National Consortium members can still know what was going on and keep abreast of all of the material that was covered during the meeting. So for the purposes of being a certified trainer, I will be noting everybody that attends these webinars. It's part of being able to keep your certification as a trainer. So I will be recording that in our database. So I guess I will go ahead and turn it over to Linda. If you'd like to get started, Linda.
Okay.
I'll just skip to right here. Okay.
All right. Oh, we can, you don't want to start in the beginning?
Sure, we can go back.
Start at the I would like it, some of you I know very well, some of you I know somewhat, and some of you not at all. So it would be nice if you could, everyone could type in their name. We see your name on the attendees list, but some of you it's a little bit mysterious. So if everybody could type in their name and what state they're from and what role you play there, that would be nice so that we can know exactly who's here from where. Great. Yes, Michelle Johnson, you were one of the mysterious ones. I wasn't sure what ASI stood for, so glad to see you're on. And okay, so Robin, you're from Tennessee. Terrific, welcome. Anybody else is typing in? Catherine, nice that you could attend. I would just want to say we missed all of you at the Summer Institute this year. It was a little bit different in that we were not in San Diego at the Town and Country, though we will be next year. So, and hope you can join us then. Okay, Tanya, nice, from Tennessee. And anybody else? Barbara, oh, 3 people from Tennessee. Wow, you guys are well represented. Phil, welcome. Valerie from Maine. Kathy from, also 4 of you from Tennessee, my goodness. Okay. All right. Barbara from Tennessee, okay. Anybody else that has not, Scott, where are you from? Let's see, you're from Washington State, is it, Scott? Okay. All right, and Jill, I see you on the chat attendee list, but Jill Roslick from Florida, looks like she's here. Okay, so welcome again, and I mean, we're going to do sort of as Adriana said, a brief sort of summary of the things that were covered at the Summer Institute in the National Consortium meeting on the Monday, but there may be some specific things that you'd like to know about, and maybe if you could have them in mind, and if at a certain point I will stop and Patty and I will both leave enough time to see if you have any, lead time for questions, because I imagine you may have some, or if anything is unclear, we'd really like to make sure you leave with a clear sense of anything that you are concerned about. And I do see that Dawn Montgomery is also on the call from CASAS, so welcome, Dawn, and nice to have you, because there very well might be questions that neither Patty nor I nor Adriana can answer. Okay, so let's start. WIOA is kind of coloring the whole scene, as everybody knows, and there are a few points that we felt were important to highlight. That we do have new educational functioning level descriptors that are based on the college and career readiness standards for adults, but at this point we only have them for ABE and ASE and not yet for ELLs. So that is something that is an interesting aspect of what's going on now with the implementation of WIOA. The integration of education and training is another area that I'm sure a lot of you are wrestling with and trying to understand how to do it well and properly. So it's something that we certainly did talk about, and we had some panels this year on the Monday afternoon. So again, we're not going to be able to really summarize all of that, but if you have specific questions, for example, about IET, we can possibly refer you to some people who did those panels, and maybe you can get into some more specific conversations with them. On the common measures, where all partners are caring about skill gains, and not just us in Title II. And then there are other indicators of progress that are something that we haven't had to deal with in the past, but that we do now. Okay, next slide. So how does CASAS relate to all of these things? We, as you know, have content standards, and we have just completed aligning the CASAS reading content standards to the CCR standards for reading. And that's something that is now posted on our website. We'll cover that a little bit later, but that's one area where we have an interaction with WIOA. Another, of course, is our new assessments that we have submitted to the NRS and that are aligned with the CCR standards and the new descriptors for ABE and ASE. Transitions, of course, you're going to use CASAS test scores when you help your students transition, whether into training or jobs. Technology becomes important in terms of all this increased interaction with partners. We're being forced to be collaborative and to a much higher degree than before. And so technology plays a part because we have to communicate, share data and information. So that's something that I think rises to the surface as something to address, and that we are also, of course, addressing in our TOPS Enterprise software. And then in professional development, you know, there is a need to help our teachers deal with these more rigorous standards, be aware of the career pathways ideologies and try to incorporate those into their teaching so that it's not, we're not as much of an island as we used to be. I think one of the major things of WIOA that's different is that the partnerships and collaboration is becoming a reality. Although it was envisioned in WIOA, it wasn't really enforced. And so in WIA, it was a vision, but it was not really implemented. But in WIOA, there are requirements to do that. So, okay, let's go ahead. So the next section is about assessment, research, and resources. Go ahead. The first is to just sort of state what is currently the case as far as the CASAS NRS approved assessment. And that is that they are approved through February of 2019. We very much expect them to be extended through June of 2019. It hasn't come out officially, but OCTAE has informally said that they expect that to be the case because that would end out the program year. So the three series that are currently approved, Life and Work Reading, the 80 series, as well as the Beginning Literacy Forms 27 and 28, which are really part of that. The Life and Work Listening 980 series, and as for math, the 30 series. Okay. So we have developed a new reading and math series that are very strongly aligned to the college and career readiness standards. They include things like higher order, we call them reading skills, but higher order thinking skills, such things as citing evidence from text or using academic vocabulary. And so really it is a different level of rigor in these new test series, both for reading and math. we have, I think you probably know this hasn't changed, but just to remind you that we are going to be delivering these tests as soon as they're approved in both computer-based and paper-based formats. So we would like one day to make them only computer-delivered, but so far the feedback we've received is that that doesn't seem like it's feasible in the next few years. So still there will be both forms of administration, though we heartily recommend that your agencies and your states try to move over to the e-test delivery mode because there's so many advantages to it. Okay, let's continue. The timeline for the new test series. So we spent a number of years writing and field testing the items. We conducted research studies, and last October we submitted these two test series to OCTAE. So actually, even in between, then we have conducted some additional studies. And now in 2017, we are waiting to hear back. So we don't know exactly when we will get any kind of final decision on these tests. But as soon as we do, we will certainly let you know what's happening. As far as those two tests are the reading test for ABE and ASE and the math for ABE and ASE. So then, in addition, we have already started work on a new listening series for ELLs, and because this gets a little bit complicated, but because, as I mentioned earlier, the new NRS descriptors were only and are still have been only available for ABE and ASE, and not for ELLs, and they have not yet been released for ELLs. We had to submit last October the reading test only for ABE and ASE and not for ELLs because we didn't have the descriptors to do our cut score studies for ELLs. So as I'm sure you know, we hope, we have always, and we hope to continue to use the same reading test for both ABE and ELLs, but that remains to be seen with respect to how the NRS ELLs look when they are published. And they were supposed to be put out in draft form late spring, early summer, but now that has passed. And we have heard from OCTAE that there are delays in releasing them. So honestly, we don't know when they will come out. And we are basically in a holding pattern on going ahead with the studies, the cut score studies for the reading test for ELLs until we get those descriptors. So that means that you will keep using the current 80 series reading for ELLs until such time as we even can get moving on finalizing it and seeing if we can use the same test or not. And also, as far as listening is concerned, that 980, as I mentioned earlier, goes both the 80 and the 980 are good through 2019. But we have started on a new listening series, and you know, we don't know. Normally, there is what they call a sunset period that OCTAE allows for programs to transition to if they're going to move into a new test series. You know, all of the databases have to be updated, and if any changes to train the field. So generally, the expiration now is 2019, but generally there is this sunset period that would give another year. But depending on how long it takes for these new ELL descriptors to be released, it's possible that they might have to extend it, but we haven't heard anything about that. All right, so I don't know, let's see if there's any questions in the chat box after all that. If you do have any questions, please write them in, and I'll pause periodically to check. Okay, let's keep going. So we've done a number of studies. We involved a panel of content experts to review all the items on all the forms to to get their view of whether the content was appropriate for adults and whether it was in line with the CCRS standards. We did a cut score, it's called a standard setting study, for both reading and math to set the cut points in relation to the NRS descriptors. And we have continued to hold focus group meetings at our summer institute, so that's another reason. Hopefully you can come next year. And actually, I'm going to tell you right now that we've been having them on the Monday morning of the Summer Institute and the Thursday morning of the Summer Institute. So I'd like to, actually, Adriana, this is a note to ourselves, is to get the word out earlier for next year so that people can plan to either come early or stay late if they want to participate in those, because I know sometimes your travel plans are made before I get the word out that you know what's happening. But this has worked well to have these focus groups on the Monday morning and the Thursday morning. So if you are planning to come next year, please try to come to one of them, because they tend to be really great discussions. We get really interesting feedback from all of you, and we have some specific questions, and you know we open it out to if you have anything that you think we need to know, but also you know about our development, where we are, and making sure our tests are relevant and appropriate for the field. Okay, let's go ahead. So this new reading test series, which is called the GOALS series, GOALS, it's still based on the CASAS competencies in the sense that they provide the contextual framework for the test reading passages and the questions, but the important thing to understand about the new reading series and the math series actually is that it's the content standards that really come to the fore as being more what is focused on in terms of what we're measuring. So as I mentioned, we have revised CASAS reading content standards, and the test is aligned very strongly to the CCRS reading and reading foundation standards. We still have those reading task areas, like whether it's a form or a chart or table or just text or another format, as one of our design features. So we make sure that we have a balance in all those presentation formats for the reading displays. So that's another area that you can certainly keep training your teachers to be aware of and to focus on if necessary. Another aspect of the new series is depth of knowledge, or the cognitive difficulty of the questions. And we're using Webb's framework, which is called Depth of Knowledge, Norman Webb. And hopefully you are all aware of that. If not, be good to look into it and make sure that you and your staff and all the teachers in your states are now aware of this, because it's another aspect of every test item is that they are aligned to this DOK framework. And then as far as academic vocabulary is concerned, this is really something new, because in our old tests, we really tried not to actually be testing vocabulary per se in the life and work reading, but in the new goals reading, we do about 20% in every test level are academic, well, there are vocabulary targeted items, whether they could be either academic vocabulary or they could be drawing meaning from context. Okay, let's go ahead. This is another way to, well, this is looking at the content areas of the new reading series in terms of the content that's being measured, and again, in terms of the content standards piece of it. So you can see on the right side are the CCRS reading anchors, and on the left are the categories that we have, and the subcategories that we've carved out to design the test, and then also we'll be reporting out the test results in these categories. So vocabulary, as I mentioned, is a category with 20% of the items. Reading skills, and this category is where the items are measuring a DOK1, which is just locate information or detail or cite evidence, identify main idea and detail. So it's not a higher order thinking skill, but it is certainly an important aspect of reading is to be able to operate at DOK1. and those are measuring R1 and R2 in the CCRS. And the higher order reading skills category, we've made these 4 subcategories that we'll also be reporting out, and we have enough items in each of these areas. Well, at level C and D. At level A, we don't have any items for. Level A only covers vocabulary and reading comprehension skills. Level B does cover all 3 categories, but not as much. And as you go up in difficulty from levels A, B, C, and up to D, there's more and more emphasis on the higher order reading skills. And so you can see the CCRS standards that are covered in relation to the higher order reading skills. And then at the bottom, there are some of these CCRS reading standards that are more sort of cross-cutting. The R7 relates to the format of the item, of the passage, and R9 is whether it's relating to more than one passage, and R10 is about the difficulty level. Okay, let's go ahead.
There we go.
Okay. Again, I think I've already basically explained that we do go up to level D as before. We are still limited to multiple choice. That's because we have to do paper delivery, but someday we can expand that if we can be computer delivered exclusively. But right now we have multiple choice items that are either comprehension questions, or now we've added sentence completion, where there's the item stem is the first part of a sentence, and then the blank, and then the distractors complete the sentence. In order to align with the CCRS standards, we've added some features like numbering the lines in the displays. Some items are referencing these numbered lines in the text. And then for the vocabulary items, we've added underlining in the passage of the words or phrases that we're calling out, so that the test takers can know which ones we're referring to. In level A, we do have photo prompts for some of the items in the beginning of the test. And another thing that we've really made an effort to do throughout the new series is to have multiple items related to one reading passage. So that means that because some of these passages, not all, but some of them are a little more dense in terms of the text complexity, which is necessary for the CCRS, and slightly longer, not very long. We really didn't go with very long passages, but still slightly longer. So that way, the time that it takes to read and really get into that passage, we wanted to have it be worth the test taker's while to struggle with it, and to have more, several items, even up to sometimes 5 items or 6 related to one passage, so that they could know that it was worth their while. And in the e-test version, it will say at the top, it says, item 1 of 5, item 2 of 5, so they can see that there are multiple items related to a passage. Okay, go ahead. The math series also still is rooted in the CASAS competencies, and we have adhered to the principle that all the math items have to have some relevance for adults, even though that's sometimes difficult with the CCRS standards. But we have aligned strongly to those CCRS standards in math, but putting everything still into a setting or a use that is real. But it is academic. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Both the reading and the math series are more academic than our previous tests. And, we did that to be able to be strongly aligned to the CCRS, and also to facilitate transition into your post-secondary training courses and jobs. Okay. So in the math series, as before, there is a range of item types. Word problems. we've made an effort to keep the reading text complexity and cognitive load simple if it's a beginning level, a level A math, and harder as it goes on, so that it should relate to the level of the reading. Still, even I would say at level D math, we still tried to keep the text as simple as possible and not, making it overly complex to make sure that we're measuring math and not reading. There is calculation, simple to advanced. We have the traditional academic context covered, and as I said, the real-world applications in scenarios. One thing that's quite different about the new math series is that there are only two levels, you could say. The first level is a combined A-B level. So there are parallel forms that combine levels A and B, and that's 40 items in those tests. And then the second level are two forms at C and D level, so combined. So that is definitely different from the past. Now, calculators are part of the test, and so if you're online, it would be an online calculator, and if you're doing the paper versions, there are certain calculators that we recommend that should be used for testing. And then also, in terms of formulae, they are provided, so it's not a matter of having the students having to memorize them. If they're needed, they are provided both in the online and the paper versions. Okay. I don't see any questions. I guess hopefully that's a good sign. Am I missing anything? Okay.
So you actually do have a question here.
Okay. They can only use the online calculator when testing online. Correct. Because it appears as part of the test. It comes up with the test item. Okay. And then this is another way to see how those levels play out in the new Goals Math series. So you can see levels A, CASAS levels, that is A, B, and C are there, and then C and D are covered in the CD form. So okay, hopefully that chart speaks for itself. Let's continue. So we want to thank, if any of you are in states or if you helped us with field testing, thank you so much. We had a lot of adult students participating, and that's partly because we now do what's called embedded field testing, where we insert a small number of items into the operational test form. So that allows us to include a lot more students, and it also is a very nice way of field testing because the students are, motivated. It just happens as part of their testing experience. So the same motivation they bring to taking the test, they bring to those field test items, and so that's really worked well for us in this new series. The first time we've done it in the new series. So we thank you all, and of course we also had research studies that we needed to reach out and ask you to recruit students to participate in those intact form field tests. So thank you if you were involved in that. But we will have more field testing coming up for the ELL reading, ELL listening, and also for the math. We're continuing to field test the math to get more data. So, okay, I see Michelle is asking me to go. Adriana, can you go back to the last slide, please?
Sure. There you go.
Right. Yeah, let me clarify this. The AB level form, it focuses on levels CASAS, that is, levels A, B, and C, and entry into D. And if we could talk NRS levels, maybe it's easier. So it covers levels 1 to 3, and someone can actually complete NRS level 3 for ABE, ASE. And they could also be placed into NRS level 4. So, the CD form, it covers levels 3, 4, and 5, so you can enter into and complete, get out of, that is NRS 5, and it'll give you entry into level 6, but not completion of level 6. Okay, Michelle, does that answer your question? I guess you'll tell me if not.
Okay, Linda.
Okay. Yeah.
Clarification on the chart. Can you go back to the slide?
Sure.
So for when you say complete, you know, as far as the previous NRS table 4, the students, we were tracking students who completed a level and students who completed and advanced to another educational functioning level. Is this alignment when you say that they complete an educational functioning level like level A? Are you saying that the new assessment is measuring their completion of that level for number 1 and then a completion of the level for number 2, but the student doesn't actually, that once they get to level C, they're able to complete, and then is the assessment measuring completion at both the level AB and level and the level CD and level at the low intermediate level? Is that what you're saying? Or probably confused it more.
Yeah, they would complete the low. They would complete the low intermediate level. If they score higher than that, they could also be placed into the middle intermediate. Anyway, the next level doesn't look right, but anyway, those, I think those names are not correct. But anyway, maybe they changed them. But anyway, they would be placed into the NRS 4, right? But you wouldn't be able to use the AB test form, the lower level test form, to have them complete level 4. You'd have to go over to the CD test form to have them complete level 4.
Yeah, I get it. I get it on 4 where the student's actually transitioning from low intermediate to what used to be high. Now it looks like they have 3 levels: low, middle, and high intermediate, when it used to be low and high. And then we had number 5 used to be ASC low, and number 6 was ASC high. So the entry, a student actually starts to transition at level C, right? Low intermediate into middle.
Yeah. So that's why you can see there's overlap on the 2 test levels. So because hopefully you'll be able to place them with a locator if you're on e-test, and then they'll have an accurate score. But both the AB level covers that level NRS 3 as well as the CD level.
Okay. So that assessment can measure from A through D at level 3. Is that what you're saying?
Understand? Sorry.
It can assess adult learner skills at the AB level and the CD level.
Yeah, the level 3 is on forms, right?
Okay. I think I probably need a little bit more. I'm still a little confused by it. I'm not really understanding the words complete and entry into. I know from the previous NRS, when we used to talk about it, it would be completing a level, like topping out. You're going from, you top out at 230. 230 would have been topped out, but if you actually earned a post-test score of 232, you not only completed that level, but you advanced. You also advanced to the next educational functioning level. I assume that this chart is doing something similar, but I'm not sure with the current terminology.
Okay, well maybe, we might want to fine-tune the terminology, and what I would recommend is that you talk to Jane Iguez about it, because she's been involved in this, and I think she'd really like to hear your just have a talk with you about it and see if we can we can find a better word than complete, then great. So we want to make it as clear as possible.
Just clarification, for level 6, I assume that's entry into post-secondary ed. Is that correct? In the column under CD, is that entry into post-secondary education?
Yeah, I think that what we would say is that, again, it might be good to talk to Jane, but my understanding is that if someone places into that entry into 6, then they would be ready to transition. Okay,
Denise, last question, I'm going to stop, is that, you know how the GED, the 2014 GED, has all of these benchmark levels based on student skill scores, right? So they purport that there is a scale score that a student can earn that predicts that this student can enter credit-bearing coursework as opposed to having to engage in remediation or developmental education. Is CASAS also, do the new assessments also have that similar alignment where you're looking at students' readiness for credit-bearing coursework as opposed to customers who may need to engage in developmental ed? And the only reason I'm asking that is because we could potentially encourage students to engage in that remediation while they're on our programs, as opposed to using the federal financial aid or Pell Grants for developmental ed courses. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are going to do, we did a study with the GED on our Life and Work reading series, and we're going to be doing it we are about to do it on this new series. But basically, if I don't know that we would be able to certify that they could, how well they perform. I think GED has like a plus rating, but we don't have that high. But I think if someone placed into level 6 on our test, then that would be that we would expect that they would be able to function in a post-secondary setting without remediation. That's the idea, because that's the whole idea of the CCRS, is to make the transition without having to go to Deb Ed.
Absolutely. I was just wondering if you guys, thank you for that. I know way back in the day, in the old life skills book, with the skill level descriptor chart, it had 13th year on there. And that was, we used to use that to encourage students to stick around once they earned the credential, just so that they could get those scores up, in the high 240s, 250, et cetera.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's keep going here. We'll have to speed up a bit, I guess. So we are going to, I think I already mentioned, we are going to be doing some research studies, and we would love you to participate, really. We're going to be doing a HiSET study and also different studies with the math series. Okay, go ahead. Seriously, please contact us and help us. We really need your help for this. So some of these studies are challenging, and we just have to, we rely on all of you to help us. So, and I think, actually it's a way for your teachers and your students to see the new test series. So I think that hopefully that's a good motivation to participate. Okay. Transitions, we're going to really maybe almost skip most of this.
Yeah, so
I don't know if anyone knows.
Linda, just a quick note about this. We actually videotaped the entire National Consortium Certified Trainer meeting, and I've been told that it should be parceled out into short little clips that we can post on our website by next week. So if you do want to see this part of it, it will be posted, and I'll let everybody know. So if you want to just watch the actual, presentation by Jane and Margaret, you can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep going. I think I really already covered this before, but I do want to, well, no. Okay, so what this is showing you, the same categories that I described almost for the test series are in the revised reading content, CASAS reading content standards. So this is, of course, foundational literacy wasn't in that, but that only would apply to the beginning literacy and level A tests. But you can see the vocabulary, reading comprehension skills, and then the higher order reading skills, which is in this in the standards, it's broken out into literary only is broken out at the very end. So I think, you know, I've already covered this. It shows that where the DOK1 and the DOK2 and higher, how that all relates. And we really, I think, I encourage you to go to the website, and if you go to the Summer Institute, well, the revised standards are posted on the website under the standards section, but also if you go to the Summer Institute presentations tab on our website, you'll see the document as well as an exercise that we created that you could use with your programs to familiarize them with the new standards. So, and the introduction to the new standards is very, it has a lot of explanation about it and about how it relates to the CCRS. So I encourage you to take a look at that, and it's something that you can hopefully use for your professional development. Okay? I'm not going to, we did a lot of work in revising these standards, and they're much shorter, they reorganized, they really align strongly to the CCRS. So take a look. Go ahead. Then we did, yeah, okay, keep going. All right, technology, I do want to leave to this. We only have 15 minutes, so keep going. So I'm going to ask Patty. Patty, would you like to take over now?
Sure, I'll be quick. So updates in TOPS Enterprise, there's actually more updates even since Summer Institute. So the NRS tables are now available. The summary audit report is available. And the big news is that we had agencies that were using our attendance system that's built into TOPS Enterprise, and the tech guys have now managed to make it so that teachers can't access other classes other than their own that they're given rights to, which took a while to get the tech guys to understand why we needed that. They're so naive sometimes. The data integrity report has changed. It's now the NRS data integrity report, so make sure to take a look at that. And next slide. And with eTests, now obviously it works with multiple web browsers. It has been updated to use HTML5. If you've got Chromebooks or anything like that you'd like to use at your agency, get a hold of tech support and tell them that you want to do this. They will make sure that you get all set up. It's very quick, and they'll help you out with all of that. Next slide. Just a review of teacher resources when you're meeting with your teachers. Don't forget to use these items. I don't think I've got much after this slide. I'm going to come up with a PowerPoint on quick search that I'll be able to share with you. Don't forget about the sample test items, the competencies and the content standards, especially those new reading content standards. We do have those low-level lessons that were originally created for adults with disabilities, but we've gotten a lot of feedback from the field that it works really well with those low-level ESL students. Those are all available free on our website. We do have the CASAS handbook for teachers. It goes over everything that teachers need to know for reports and data that they need to help collect using CASAS, and all done without any jargon involved. We've also got a PowerPoint to go with it. We've got a full outline for professional development to use it. You can use all of it or part of it, whatever you like. It's all open and available on the website. also now have an updated key reports for TOPS Enterprise users. It's got one section that's for data management, and the other section is assessment to instruction. So it's all those reports that teachers and administrators need to know. And so it's got the instructions of how to print it up, who it's for, and how to read it. And that's all available online too.
Hey, Patty, there is a question in the chat box
Okay.
about any idea when iPad compatibility might be available?
No, they're still talking about it. Still talking about it.
And then there's another question from someone from Tennessee. They're having trouble with the new HTML version testing our students. The test will knock the student off periodically, and we have to go back and put the student ID back in and pull it back up. And sometimes it is just starting a new test for that student. Is anyone else having this problem?
I know that in Broward County, Florida, they've been they changed over to the HTML and they encountered some issues, but our tech support team and programmers have been working very closely with them. So I would recommend, and Don, if you're on the phone, maybe you can address this, but mainly the thing is to contact our tech support and let us know about any issues, so that in case it's you know, something we haven't encountered before, or, you know, of course we want to help you and work through it, and if depending on what the problem is, if it's something that we need to correct in the programming, we really want to know about it so we can avoid the problem for you again and for others.
Yes, absolutely. If I can just add on to that, we have a testing irregularity report, a fillable PDF form available on our website that it would be very helpful to go ahead and submit that for at least one of the cases on the day of the occurrence or the next day at the very latest, so that it will give our programmers the opportunity to research a little bit further, you know, closer to when that incident occurred, to help uncover any issue that they can address at that time. So timing is very important. You know, if you tell us that you've had problems a week or two ago, that's a week or two late, because of the sheer amount of logs that are generated by all online users nationwide. So you know, help us out so that we can help you, and together we can resolve these issues sooner than later.
Good.
I'll go ahead and I'll put the URL to the testing irregularity report in the chat box.
Great. Is that the end of the PowerPoint? Adriana?
There are two more in this section for Patty. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. So this is just a note on the test item and competency report that many agencies, if not most agencies, use, but you might not be aware that there is an aggregation level that you can choose in the general setup window. And so you can get all these different versions of the same report. This being very detailed with the test item by competency, I realize I'm underlining it with my cursor, which you can't see. And then by test and competency, and then for those multi-level classes by competency category, and then by task area. So it makes it a lot more helpful to use in classes than perhaps the default, which is the test item by competency. So I've given the instructions on how to run that report. And Adriana, can you go to the last slide?
Sure.
Oh, and there are all four of the reports. Just a sample for you, but I really encourage you to play around with that and present that to your teachers, because it's so helpful. And I think that's all I've got.
there's one last one about the handbook.
Oh, the handbook. The handbook is online. I know it says probably that it was updated in 2015, but I don't believe anything's changed since then. When I get a chance this summer, I'll go back in and look, but don't worry about the date on it.
And I believe that is it. To everybody that's attending here, Don put the link to reporting and testing irregularity to CASAS in the chat box. So hopefully you can utilize that feature so that we can help you kind of get any problems resolved as they arise. I also got a question a little bit earlier that I wanted to answer about the posting of this PowerPoint. If you go to the National Consortium Certified Trainer Peer Community, you can access it right from the CASAS homepage. There on the main page for the peer community is a link to the same PowerPoint that we just went over today. And we'll also be posting a link to this webinar probably within the next week. And then also, once they're finished, like I said, we'll be posting the video clips from the actual National Consortium Certified Trainer meeting. So we'll have them up in different sections. For example, you can watch Pat Ricker's introduction to the meeting, or if you want to learn more about the transition section, which we didn't really cover today, you can watch that on your own. Did anybody have any questions for Linda or Patty?
Actually, this is Linda. I just want to maybe clarify one thing. I don't know if all of you are aware of what HTML5 really means or why we're talking about it, so I'll just maybe take a second to explain that for some time now, the e-tests have been on a platform that involves something called Silverlight for all the graphics and how it's displayed. And what we've recently done is made a conversion of the software to also be able to be given in a format called HTML5, which is a lot more robust in how it can allow you to increase the size of the display, and there are a lot of things about it that are useful. One of the reasons that, well, there's two main reasons that this is important now is that that some browsers are not supporting the Silverlight anymore, so agencies were calling to say they couldn't use the Silverlight version, so they did transfer over to the HTML5 version. And the other thing is that the only way we can deliver these tests on tablets is if it's in HTML5. And so wanted to clarify too that right now the Chromebook is the tablet that is you can use now, and it's available in Chromebooks. As I think Patty said, or Dawn's putting a message up here, is that we're working on the iPad version, but it's not ready yet.
Great. I don't know if we have any, there aren't any more questions in the chat box, and I don't know if we have any more from the people on the phone. Did you have anything else to wrap up with, Patty or Linda?
Nope, I think that was it.
Yeah. Okay,
great. Well, thank you all.
Yeah, I just want to say hopefully we want to say that hopefully we addressed your concerns and made you feel a little bit like you had been there, but hopefully you all can come next year and we'll see you in person.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks.
Bye-bye.